another WHIS talk. For those who don't know much about it, WHIS is a platform to improve health and well-being, sharing knowledge and creating an opportunity to better the world we live in. And we do this through strong collaboration, specific pillars that target relevant points through projects. The intention is to create a positive atmosphere that gives responsibility to businesses and to communities alike to stimulate and facilitate change. So it is my great pleasure today to present you the wonderful people whom not only I know, but I very much so admire for their work, um, the time and the focus that they have towards well-being, towards preventive medicine, and in a time where really there's no quite a vaccine yet available for the COVID-19, we really have to go on to other resources. And so it is my great pleasure to introduce to everybody Isabel. Isabel is from joining us from Geneva. Isabel, would you like to just give us a brief introduction on who you are and what you do, just in a very quick nutshell?
Hello, everybody. It is a big pleasure for me to be with you today and to have this session together. Thank you so much, Manuela, for this amazing opportunity to be together today. I am based in Geneva. I am working for WHO, World Health Organization, and it is based in Geneva. And my work, it is very focused now on the use of art to have an impact in health and well-being. It is totally an innovative initiative. We have started this initiative 1 year ago now. And for me, it is very important to be able to, specifically before I have working on an integrated people-centered approach, in healthcare. And for me, art, the use of art, for example, in health is a continuity of this program. Okay, it is a pleasure for me to tell you more about where we are in this area and why it is so important, in fact, to consider simultaneously preventive health, but as well promotion of health with what we call curative health. Donc how we integrate in complementarity these two dimensions, and to consider as well the whole, perspective of the person. That it is now for many years WHO have looked this type of perspective, and as well brief the member states about the importance of this direction. And me, my background, I'm a biologist and physiologist, and specialize in homeostasis and public health expert. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for being here today. And the same principles really are so well, studied, and they're so very well applied by Tom. So, Tom, you are a former president of the British Naturopathic Association. Tell us a bit more about you and what kind of medicine do you do?
Thank you, Manuela. I'm no longer involved in politics, but I'm just in private practice. I'm a naturopath and osteopath in Canterbury in Kent. And I have a special interest in epigenetics, but I have a general practice and I see patients of all ages. I've been in practice for 24 years.
Wonderful. Yes, with amazing stories. I'm so pleased to have met you a long time ago. I think I remember listening to you having a doing a lecture or something. It was great. Yes, absolutely, very inspiring. And
Thank
in a
you.
similar field, really, is Jeff. So you are a herbalist, however.
Yes, I started life in marketing, but it bored me, and so I retrained as a naturopath and qualified 35 years ago. But my special interest is herbal medicine and microcirculation and cancer, and that led me into putting centres together, because natural medicine done in a small way in a clinic is very difficult to treat major diseases. And so together with some others, we put together a team that built a good centre an amazing centre really, in Sri Lanka, focused on cancer, bringing all of the therapies together that we found that we could there. And they came from Germany, Australia and the US mostly. And very successful, wonderful clinic. But herbs is a passion of mine, and I find it really something that supports you throughout life.
Right. Okay, that's a yeah, I agree completely. And of course, the picture has to be filled also by a wonderful homeopath. And I'm talking about my lovely Shima friend, and another source of continuous inspiration for many people. Shima, you are in Geneva as well, Andrew?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Manuel, having us in this beautiful panel. Yes, as you said, I'm a homeopath, but pharmacist and nutritionist as well. This has been a journey of discovery for me, coming from a field of science to go toward a holistic, approach. It is what it is, and it takes what it takes. It takes a lot of courage to come out and combine both science and natural medicines. And today we are promoting through a Swiss Alternative Medicine, which is a company based in Geneva, the holistic medicine, based on evidence-based trials in studies, nonetheless taking into account empiric facts and experimental methods. So we do have also a charity that works for interest of kids all around the world in education and health and their well-being. And of course, we are affiliated with WHIS in terms of implementing their pillars and bringing cohesion between partners, because we absolutely believe in different SDGs. One of them is partnership. So we're carrying that. And in the long run, we have created also a platform with Mohammed and other participants about knowledge of brain health, because we are convinced that this is a major point in the future.
Of course, yes, absolutely. And that brings me, of course, to Dr. Mohammed Nami. Good morning. You are in Iran. So what do you do? And why are you so well loved and so much been, I don't know, so many people talk to me about you. Tell us.
Well, thank you so much for counting me in this exciting function. I'm coming from the medical background, and then I did my PhD in cognitive neuroscience. So my interest, and I decided to choose brain studies as my career since like 10, 15 years back. And it is really exciting to go into the amazing, miraculous brain science to see how we put together all the things with 100 billions of neurons. We're just thinking reality, and we're interacting with the people. We have the emotions, we have the behavior and cognitive aspects, and how we're going to make the life even more enjoyable. And the idea of productivity and self-functionality, also the mental well-being, has been central to my activities over the past few years. I'm currently functioning as head of the Department of Neuroscience at Shiraz University of Medical Sciences. Also, I'm privileged to function as an adjunct faculty at the Neuroscience Institute in Panama City in Panama. And Dr. Shima has also gave me the chance and honor to start collaborating on developing a new initiative called Inclusive Brain Health, that if I would have time, if I may, I will just touch on it as we move. Thank you so much again and again.
Okay. No, yeah, absolutely. I think we will find that time. It sounds really very engaging, very interesting. So I have here in front of me amazing people. So what are we going to do? What are we doing? What can we do in this time of uncertainties, in time where we're still waiting for a vaccine to come through, in a time where really non-pharmaceutical interventions are really the only ones we can refer to in regards to the management of COVID-19. So talking about face masks, distancing, washing hands, so personal hygiene, etc. But it's somewhat, there's a lot of caution in regards to bringing in natural medicine in the picture. I guess from the public health viewpoint, and to be very aware that everything that I suppose complementary medicine practitioners bring to the forefront is validated. This is true. That is the randomized control trial type of validation. However, if that's not possible for us to refer to, what's been validated, what about prevention? What about preventive medicine? Does it make a difference being healthy or not being healthy in a COVID-19 time? I think it does make a difference, doesn't it? What's your thoughts on this? Mohammed, last one, but I'd like to start with you. What's your thoughts about it? What's in Iran? What's the situation? How acceptable, how followed is natural medicine as a preventive measure right now for keeping people well, for avoiding a possible infection and certainly the sequelae, which of course COVID-19 brings with it? Dr. Mohammed, can you hear me?
Yeah. Now
So
we're sitting well.
the
Okay,
question-
good. Well, yeah. That is so important. I'll put it this way: that as you indicated, the P4 medicine is central to today's medical care around the world. So we're not, anymore thinking about just prescribing medication and that's another story. No, that's not it. So we need to have a holistic view of the personal health and productivity. And from my standpoint, a very important part of that kind of relates to the brain health and how the brain can cope with the stressing worries and also the tensions around us. And when it comes to something like a health issue and uncertain times, when the person is always worried about being infected or contract the virus and what will happen to him, not only from the health related issues, but also financial, personal, work related issues, and so on and so forth. So P4 medicine, as you all acknowledge, is something that we all need to tap into, and that's pretty much of importance because we have predictive medicine and we have preventive medicine, as you highlighted. Also, we have precision medicine and we have participatory medicine. So these 4 Ps, when we put them all together, one of them absolutely could be preventive medicine. How to help people to conquer the worry and to stay away from getting chronic anxiety or generalized anxiety disorder. And at the same time, they might have the obsessive compulsive behavior. They might have this, uncertainty, and they're all the time preoccupied with all the worrisome, thoughts and that is also really important if we want to treat someone and approach someone specifically from the brain perspective and brain health perspective, mental and cognitive behavioral health. Then personalized approach seems to be crucial. Right. Because any person has got his own buildup, the protein buildup, genetic buildup, and everything, and that's something you guys from the alternative medicine and from the integrative medicine approach, you are going to, focus in by zooming in the repertoire of what a person has. You're going to find a way, and through that corridor, by integrative evidence-based medicine, we're going to help the people in terms of their brain health and functionality and staying away from these stressing worries.
Right. And that's fair enough. So if we get better mentally, and if our neurotransmitters, if you like, are not firing the way they've been firing, I'm sure globally, perhaps we have a better hang on to what's going on right now. And from the point of view of say Western herbal medicine or nutritional medicine. I mean, there are so many other things, right, that can be done. Jeff, what do you have found in your research in regards, for example, I don't know, to lung health, right? Because we have a lung health, we have a gut health, we have a mental health. Does lung kind of come into the equation here, that we have the lungs as a major issue for the COVID-19? What do you say?
Oh,
Sorry,
absolutely. There's herbal medicine. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So herbal medicine has a great tradition for looking after the lungs, both protective and giving them strength. And the way we understand that COVID comes in is to damage the lining of the lungs. And there's very good evidence that there are herbs that support that membrane. So there's things like rhodiola and maritime pine and pomegranate even. Pomegranate, famous herb from the Middle East, that supports these membranes, and when they're in good health, they're able to resist for longer, and they don't break down as much. And it's the breakdown that causes the damage. Once that breakdown occurs and the virus can get in, it continues to damage. So if your membranes are in good condition in the first place, you're going to have less problems. And what we've seen already is the people with concomitant conditions, and they are all, in my mind, microcirculation issues, that is the linings of the blood vessels, but also the lungs, are not in good health. And when they're not in good health, these things, we are more open to these things. And of course, as we age, they become a problem as well. Those linings become a problem. So good diet, looking after what you put into your body all the time, which is not very fashionable in Australia. We have such a problem with type 2 diabetes and weight and anxiety and mental issues that all come back to the way we live and what we put in our bodies and what we do on a daily basis. Years ago, we were trained very early on to do that, look after ourselves. But these days, I think marketing wins. McDonald's and the others, they condition people to put rubbish into their bodies. And I think it's, there's a certain group of people who come to professionals like us to actually get direction. But unfortunately, it's a lot of people who don't.
Mm-hmm. And I guess from the demographic viewpoint, there is some commonalities between Australia and the UK in regards to cardiometabolic issues and people overweight and comorbid conditions. Do you confirm that? What's happening? Are people going to alternative medicine doctors trying to get some help right now? Is there a culture there of this in this regard, or not really?
In the UK, people are so invested in the National Health Service because it's free. It's free at the point of contact, and although it's good for emergencies, it's not great at prevention or dealing with chronic disorders. So unfortunately, there's not a huge amount of people thinking about getting natural medicine, but it has had a bit of a resurgence during the COVID era because people are just not able to access their GP at the moment, and natural medicine practitioners are available via telehealth much more now than in the past. So yes, we do have a lot of people with diabetes and nutrient deficiencies, which are all huge risk factors for illness. And I'd like to come back on something that Mohammed said earlier about personalized medicine, because I think this really is one of the most important things, and really is the future. For example, in June, there was a paper in Virology, Journal of Virology, about the different HLA types. And HLA typing is, it tells you what kind of immune system you have, which presents antigens to your white blood cells. And the research found that one of the HLA types, B4601, had the fewest predicted binding peptides for SARS-CoV-2, which means these people were much more susceptible to the disease, whereas HLA B1503 had the highest capacity to present these peptides to the white blood cells. And so these people had much more ability to develop protective T-cell based immunity. So to type people for their HLA antigens it's really fast and inexpensive, and something that could be done very easily. We could so easily find out which are the people who are most vulnerable, most at risk for this and other diseases, and things like mannose binding lectin deficiency is another immune deficiency. If we could find out who these people are and protect them by isolating them, building up their immune system, making sure they have enough nutrients, and then other people would be at much lower risk for contracting the disease and getting the severe consequences of the disease. So, these things are possible. They're just being ignored because of the huge focus and concentration on vaccination, which is for antibodies. Antibodies is your last defense against the disease, and we don't know how long antibodies are going to last. If we can build up the soil, build up a person's immunity and their natural strength against disease, this is what we were meant to be doing as human beings, having a decent immune system based on good food, good nutrition, and all-round health. So I really appreciate that this is where the future of medicine is, and if the orthodox medicine is not going to do it, then us natural health practitioners will have to take the lead on this.
I hear you absolutely, and unfortunately, not all of us live in Switzerland with Shima, because in Switzerland, of course, natural medicine is given perhaps the right scope. It's given the right weight, and is given opportunities and support. What's the current situation? You are a practitioner, Shima, other than also being a researcher. So, what's the reaction of, let's say, people in Switzerland who are used to natural medicine and are able to reach out to natural medicine? Is it been an increase, or is it been a rejection, or on the other hand, there's been in fact further embracing of natural medicine in this particular time?
You just pinpoint the right element in Switzerland. Of course, we have the chance and the opportunity to have our legislation supporting natural approach, such as homeopathy, Chinese medicine, anthroposophic medicine, and Ayurvedic medicine, which are reimbursed by the basic insurance, which is not the case maybe in other countries. And this is the will of people, because we have a system of referendum here that listen to the voice of the people. And I think one of the basic things in a pharmaceutical country such as Switzerland is having this opportunity to trial and to see what kind of herbal medicine is working. So now the only thing that I would like to add is that we shouldn't forget that historically many are pharmaceutical drugs such as metformin or aspirin or digitalin, they're coming from plants. And then we forgot about that most often because we are going toward a synthetic, production and bringing only the name up. When we go back, we see that there are a lot of evidence-based trials, even in early, 19, that mentioned herbal medicine has its own efficiency. And when we're looking through a holistic approach, such as Muhammad said and Tom emphasized on that, on personalized medicine, then we go through many other aspects of alternative medicine. We choose, if the person has an immune deficiency, then we boost his immunity. If the person has in the right moment nutrition deficiency, we have to tap in. And gathering all those things, I believe, makes the whole difference. Now, as a evidence-based camps, as we call it, you can talk about curcumin that really brings up what we call it T cells. I don't want to go to specifics, but natural killers and all the first defense of the body. We can talk about vitamin D, how important this is. We can talk about zinc, but we know all these things because of not having a proper answer from traditional or orthodox medicine. This is the era where I think science and naturopathic ways can combine their effort to bring solutions and really sustainable solutions, because we don't go for 6 months later off of COVID. We have COVID with us for some time. So we have to gather really information that are useful.
Great. Yes, very good point. And this is where the WHO really, so Isabel, this is a question for you. This is where the WHO, it can be so well supportive of further research, no doubt, but certainly at the very least supportive of those who dedicate their lives basically in natural medicine, in patient-centered model of care, because there's a whole lot of great work being done around the world. It just needs to perhaps given the right weight, the way that it is not antagonistic to mainstream medicine or allopathic medicine, but certainly it does have a system in place. And like I said, Switzerland absolutely great, supportive, recognized, and good for people to be able to have reimbursement. That's not the case in the vast majority of other countries. It doesn't really occur. So what can the WHO do a bit more? I mean, if we consider the COVID era as a cathartic time, a time of transformation and change, which inevitably is, what will the WHO propose to do to support natural medicine?
Yeah, thank you so much, Manuela, for this key question. In fact, WHO have done amazing, important work about traditional and complementary medicine, specifically during this, I will say, 3 years old. And it was very endorsed, very important work just before, in fact, COVID. And for example, the attention to all member states about the importance of integrated people-centered people approach, was really understood by all the member states, and for example, specifically in in this area, we have the endorsement by all the member states to support, in fact, the framework about integrated people-centered healthcare. Donc they have done a very important move in this direction, and to consider the holistic approach of the person. Donc that it was a very important move. The other important area, have contribute tremendously. It is we have a specific area for traditional and complementary medicine in WHO is very important to know, and they have been able to produce, and I will encourage you to look at it, a very important global report on traditional and complementary medicine in 2019. And I would like just to give you key inputs, about this report. What we need to know, it is a fact, before COVID, it was more and more countries have been able to recognize the role of traditional and complementary medicine in their national health systems. Donc, what we discussed together about the fact, you are able to consider, legislation, regulation, but as well, what it was mentioned, the inclusion in the health assurance, of your own country, for this, to take in consideration reimbursement of natural, medicine in the health systems. And related to the report, for example, 98 member states have developed policies on traditional and complementary medicine. That it is very important to know. And 109 had launched national law and regulation about traditional and complementary medicine. And 124 had implemented regulation on herbal medicine. What it is huge, in fact, because the number of member states in WHO currently, it is 192. So we can see the proportion of member states very dedicated to consider this important area. Donc I will say it is good news. It is good trend globally. And it was recognized, of course, by WHO, by as well member states. Traditional medicine can offer well-functioning, people-centered health systems that balance curative services and preventive care. What was really the focus, in fact, of I will say service delivery, healthcare area in WHO. And 170 member states have really acknowledged their use of traditional and complementary medicine. In general, you have many countries have not direct, policies. They use other policies to introduce traditional and complementary medicine, specifically, for example, national drug and medicine and health policies, as an entry point. But we have as well, specifically for African country, a lot of programs to facilitate the use of traditional and complementary medicine in primary health care. What it is for WHO, critical area, important area, and to strengthen, in fact, the primary health care, access and services to be sure the people, can have access to the best preventive healthcare services in their respective country. Donc that it is, for your information, 36 exclusive national policy have been dedicated to promote traditional and complementary medicine. And if you look the different regions in the world, it is mainly Africa and part of Asia, not all Asiatic countries, but it is 95%, of these countries, have really focused to the use of specifically indigenous, what we call indigenous, traditional medicine. And for example, in general, around 60% for Pacific, and as well as Mediterranean, region. And for Europe, for example, it is only 21%. Donc you can see, in percentage, the difference of the consideration in the health system for traditional and complementary medicine. And for that, I think it's very important to consider we have advanced a lot, in this area, specifically for all the member states. The fact they are able now to consider the importance of preventive and preventive medicine in their policies. I will just finish by what are the key challenges in this at worldwide level on this area. The member states, all of them have mentioned first the main issue for them. It is still the lack of research data, because it is an issue not just to access to the data, but as well to the methodology. What type of methodology are credible? How we disseminate, the valuable, research. So that it is, I think, the first priority. And it was, we had a very important working group in WHO about that for many years. And always it was the first issue. And of course, the second point, maybe as you know, it is the lack of financial support for this research, in fact, on traditional complementary medicine. And the other issue was about the education and training of some traditional and complementary providers, but all this issue are linked to each other. And after it is really how you what is the best way, in fact, or the best practices, the lesson learned, and we need to share that worldwide. How you integrate, in fact, this type of approach, in the current health systems, and how that complement very well, the curative area. Donc that's still a lot of information, of knowledge, need to be disseminated, need to be shared, to understand better how we can design, in fact, more integrative health systems, consider in equivalent way, the importance of preventive and curative medicine together, without damaging or competing, each other. That it is the main, I think, challenge for worldwide.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. This is fantastic, and it's very good to know that the WHO has been doing such a tremendous work, really, with various processes that are certainly complex in regards to traditional and complementary medicine. However, really, if we want to really, really super simplify all of this, you would think that by applying and supporting preventive medicine, there's a whole lot of money, a whole lot of funds that are going to be saved by various countries, because less people are going to get sick, and life goes on in a much better way. So there is a resistance, some countries more than others, but nevertheless, I guess the message has to go to the people, and people then will choose. My other comment is, and I think whoever wants to perhaps add to it, is that the type of system of research is really the randomized controlled trials that do apply so well to pharmaceutical, are basically impossible pretty much to be applicable to natural medicine, because natural medicine, of course, is a lot more complex than that. And so perhaps a different system of research is really more than overdue, not just due, overdue. And so, Mohammed, Iran has a fantastic tradition of medicine that I love. I really love. I admire. I think I don't know. There's so much more to read, and continuously to go back to it and apply and necessarily make it available in clinic. What kind of and if there are, in fact, are there issues in regards to people accessing method of traditional medicine for the moment. I mean, I know from the UK, for example, there is a disadvantage because NHS are free centre of medicine. So why would people want to pay money to go and see an alternative medicine doctor? What's the situation in Iran?
Well, in Iran, it's not the mainstream of practice. I mean, that although many universities have built up some programs for teaching the Iranian medicine or traditional Iranian medicine or Persian medicine, if you like, and then putting them all together with all other dimensions of the, I mean, Greek medicine, Chinese medicine, and having an integrative, multifaceted approach to the holistic health. That is not my area of expertise, though I know that my colleagues and my associates, they are really serious in taking this to an upper level. So they are trying to spread the idea that something which is good is right, and something which is right is good. So based on that, they are going to convince the people to just embrace, not only the classical or modern medicine stuff, but also approach for something which has been proved by time to be effective. As Shima was highlighting, something which pretty much of great importance here is that if we want to highlight something in practice of medicine and touch on the focus on the concept of global health and well-being, we need to, at the same time, we need to balance it with evidence-based medicine. So what is not proved and backed up with the evidence-based medicine is hard to be accepted by the academies, and it's less likely to be of benefit for the society. Because in modern medicine, we're putting all the things together and synergizing all the capacities of different disciplines, and we're integrating all the different scientific realms, ranging from the top-notch science and applied technology in the world. They are partly limited to NBIC, which is nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, and cognitive science. So NBIC is a paradigm. It's been a role of the holistic approach to health matter since like 2001 in the US. But as we all know, after like a decade in Europe, specifically in National Institute of Health, they started to develop a similar concept, which is CKTS, or converging knowledge and technology for the benefit of the society. So when we're discussing the health issues, and also we're using and applying technologies and novel approaches toward health, that should be for the benefit of the society. So if I may here, I just need I know that my task is to keep it short and simple, and I'm going to use like 3-4 minutes to touch on something that we've been developing with our colleagues and our associates at Swiss Alternative Medicine. And a part of that was, as I said before, inclusive brain health. If I may share my slides for like a few minutes, I'll be touching on the main and recapitulate the things that I already pointed out. All right.
Okay, cool. Great. Yes, we're on.
Okay, perfect. So as you see here, brain is a complex, automated, chaotic, and very, very sophisticated, weird part of our body. And we all know that weird is somehow a side effect of awesome. So brain is something that makes us who we are. And we came up with the idea in SAM that we got to be using all the colors. And that's when we're knitting the brain or something like that. So it is the whole concept of IBH, or inclusive brain health. And that was the idea of reconsidering all the different aspects and parameters and variables that they are potentially effective in maintaining the brain health. So we got like 4 geometric shapes here. An upright triangle, a circle, a square, and like an inverse triangle. And as you see in the upright triangle, we have the 3 main pillars of our nervous system functionality: On the top, that I do not have it right now, it's been moved. So it is CNS. Then on the left down corner, we have autonomic nervous system. CNS means central nervous system. Left down corner, we have autonomic nervous system, and PNS, peripheral nervous system. So there should be a harmony between these three substrates of our neural system. Also, when we look at the brain from another perspective in the red circle, we have the behavior on the front part, and on the right down corner we have emotion, and on the left down corner we have cognition. So in any of these areas that we have swing from the normative data and normative functionality standards, then we might be having some predicaments and some deviation from the regulated behavior or cognition or emotion. And as such, when we discuss about the general concept of psychoneuroendocrinoimmunology, it is like a holistic and integrative approach to the health matter when it comes to bodily health or behavioral health or emotional health or cognitive health and brain health in general. And the other paradigm here is the green square that you have. We are all kind of affected by the allostatic stress load around us, and also we have the genetic makeup. At the same time, it's really important to be pretty much aware of the fact that sleep and wakefulness should follow a regulated pattern and efficiency. Otherwise, we're not going to get the benefit out of that. And nutrition and physical activity also another part of this important paradigm here. And let's look at the inverse triangle. When we have body and brain and the surrounding, all right? So today is the COVID era. If we cannot travel outside, would kind of perhaps better to travel inside, all right? So just to make meditation and mindfulness cognitive practices and also relaxation techniques and all the different aspects of mental health issues which are being targeted by alternative medicine like aromatherapy, audiovisual entrainment, so on and so forth. These are pretty much of great importance to be attended to. So here, when we have deviation from the expected standards, as I pointed out, in the behavioral perspective, also cognitive perspective, and emotional perspective, we might be having three spaces: space 1, space 2, and space 3. And space 1 represents the neurofunctional or behavioral predicaments. Space 2 works for affective disorders, and space 3 represents cognitive predicaments. So if you look at all these 4 geometric figures, you see that the very center area of this intersection is the area that we need to come into a whole, holistic harmony. And the area that we gotta be, moving and mobilizing our existence towards it is the very center of this part of this model. And that's what we call it space 4. And that's the optimal state of neurofunctional, behavioral, and cognitive harmony. So what you stated is that what was touched on by other colleagues and experts here was somehow related to what I tried to point out, and that's the importance of putting them all together and have like a multifaceted, inclusive approach to the brain health, and why brain and mental health and also behavioral health is important, because in personalized medicine and in precision medicine, if you prefer that, what is important is the psychoneuroendocrinoimmunology. And for the first two parts, psychoneuro is something which is above the handle of my eyeglasses, right? So what we're talking about is all related to the thing between our ears somehow, and the mind over body and the genetics and the molecular medicine and also cell therapy. If we think about regenerative medicine, tissue engineering, and all the modern aspects of top-notch medical approaches in modern medicine, these are really need to go hand in hand with something that we're now touching on, which is holistic medicine, which is integrative medicine, because we're talking about genes, we're talking about atoms, we're talking about bits of information, and we're talking about neurons. So the atom, gene, neuron, and bits of information are the 4 things that it come to form like another square, if you like. So these things are pretty much of great importance to be allotted to when we're discussing about budget allocation, also using the resources, discussing the ways of how we're doing the research, and tomorrow's way of approaching to the global health. And I know that the SDG 3, or Sustainable Developmental Goal of the UN, prominently focuses on mental health and well-being. And what is mental health without bodily health? What is bodily health without, all the different aspects of health and functionality and well-being? That's my time, I guess.
Well, thank you so much. Absolutely. It's fascinating, and we can stay here talking for another, maybe a month might do. I don't know. Maybe not.
That might be true. Yeah, I would agree with that. You can say that again. Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, absolutely.
It's huge. Yeah.
It is huge. And by also looking from the physicality, and you alluded to that quite a lot, but I'm really fascinating about this microcirculation, which Jeff alluded at the beginning of the conversation, and how we know that coronavirus, in the way in which it works, it's an odd virus we never had before. It does appear to create the worst debilitated by attacking and diminish really the integrity of the endothelium. Can you just briefly, and maybe as perhaps a bit of a summary if you can, I know I'm asking impossible, Jeff, but if you could just tell us a bit more, how would you complement what Dr. Mohammed just said? Perhaps what kind of herbs, what else can we bring into this picture?
Well, the endothelium is such a big subject, and it underlies health altogether. And it's much discounted, basically because I think allopathic medicine has no treatment for it. It's good health and lifestyle that does, and herbal medicine. The only things that I know of, there is a magnetic treatment called the Beamer that actually has a treatment, but Western medicine has no impact on endothelial dysfunction. And when the endothelium starts to not work very well, everything else begins to reduce in its function, because all of your nutrition and oxygen is transported via the circulatory system, most of which is 1 cell thick of it, the endothelium. 3/4 of it is just 1 cell thick. And when it becomes unhealthy, you get all sorts of problems starting to manifest from that. And it is behind many problems. So brain health and it is hugely important. The endothelium is very, very important. And so looking after your diet, seeking a herbalist and a natural therapist to actually repair these things. We have many herbs. In fact, any herb that contains proanthocyanidins, polyphenols, OPCs, there's a group of chemicals that all repair the endothelium, which is behind nearly the great majority of physical ills that we have. The endothelium's involved. And it is what gets attacked by COVID. So COVID-19 breaks down the endothelium, and we get this nitrous oxide buildup that causes the septicemia, that causes the very serious life-threatening damage. The only things that I know that will protect that are herbal. What they're using at the moment, the steroids, dexamethasone, of course, calms it all down, right, but it doesn't repair it. So I think herbal medicine has a role to play here, but there are no trials. There's no evidence as yet, particularly with COVID. There are with other coronaviruses. With SARS, there's evidence for herbal medicine. But in our current situation, nobody's really looking yet, I don't think. There is some evidence, like I saw something today put out on Hindawi going through different systems of medicine and herbs and herbal combinations, TCM, Ayurveda, that have evidence with corona and SARS viruses, but not with the current COVID-19. But I think that we can pretty safely assume that if it's having an effect on a coronavirus, and so let's take one herb, for example, elderberry, very good evidence that the protein spikes that the coronaviruses use to penetrate into cells, elderberry puts a cap on the end of the spike so it can't penetrate. Now, that's pretty amazing. That's a fruit of a tree that grows almost all over the world. And there's evidence with other viruses that are similar. I suspect it's the same. There are quite a number of others. The famous Chinese Biochol skullcap has evidence against destroying the SARS and the other coronaviruses, but not this one. So the trials haven't been done yet. There are herbs like cat's claw that actually activate the immune system to focus on viruses. It doesn't actually kill any viruses, but it gets your immune system to focus on viruses. So, and evidence for that, but not with COVID-19. So, but as a natural therapist, those are the things that I would use to activate the immune system, to protect the endothelium, to protect the lining of the lungs, and to calm the system down. There are so many herbs that are useful here.
Right, and that's fantastic to know and really do it, right? It's not difficult. And so now I would like to ask again, really in a few minutes, Tom, you alluded before to, of course, to the immune system, to some way of discerning really who is more at risk and who is not. And of course, a whole lot of research, and this we have quite a lot of evidence there about gut microbiome and how the gut microbiome, the key role that it has right now, not only just for the coronavirus 19 era, but really for each and everything, right, that we come across during our lives and maybe in future generations, who knows, in regards to preventive medicine. What's your view? We're running out of time a little bit, and it's a fascinating discussion, but if you can just summarize, that would be great.
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many medicines, conventional medicines, whose action is not necessarily on the body, but on the microbiome, which actually affects the course of the disease. And of course, Jeff's talking about the endothelium and why are we not acknowledging the fact that type 2 diabetes is curable and it has been proven to be curable? Why aren't we actually curing the people with diabetes so that they are less susceptible to these diseases? And why are we not stopping the causes of obesity, such as junk food, and really educating people to lose weight and become more healthy and do more exercise? It's just basically down to where the profits are. The pharmaceutical companies, the big food companies, all they want to do is make profits. They don't care about people's health. This is really the corruption in society. And if we can change the way that society works, put absolutely everything into a focus on people's individual and personalized health, then we wouldn't have any problems such as pandemics.
Oh yes, really good words of wisdom. Shima, just a conclusive remark. You always give a wonderful view, and you're so peaceful, so wonderful, so inspiring. Maybe just for our audience, what do you say? What are we going to do?
Well, you're so kind to me, Manuela. Very briefly, I think education is a pillar, as Tom said. And I think education starts at early age in order to achieve and focus on salutogenic society. We have to impact our children. This is number one for me. Second is about health literacy. I mean, what is information? What is misinformation? How we can, know what is the right one. So this is where a platform of knowledge and expertise can be created to bring up the right and decisive, information. Leadership is something that we have to focus on, and this is on the country level, national level, and international level. So I think the good sense of life brings us, hope, because this is not something that is going away very quickly, as I mentioned. So what we have to focus is how we can, as a community, as a platform of knowledge and expert, bring in very quickly, because really we don't have that much time to debate politics and pharmaceuticals and whatever it is. We have something on hand, and we have to bring very quickly solutions for that. And this kind of platform, for example, that the WHIS has launched, this is a great source of information. People with good devotion and good information can really reach out to others. So for me, as a conclusion remark, education, health literacy, and of course, tapping in politics are important.
Well, look, I would like to thank everyone. This is, of course, just the beginning of a much longer conversation, which I really would like to bring up another time. But terrific. We absolutely grateful. I'm very grateful for your time. It really is. And I'm, of course, a fan and supportive of natural medicine, of further research, and of a patient-centered type of model of care, which is really the future of medicine, like some of us have been talking today about. So thank you again, and all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manuela.